right, so with the first question goes back to Ellen Weaver. It is clear you're both way better qualified than she, but she is a very skillful politician. So, and that's a reality you got to fight against. Any thoughts or ideas how either of you would approach that problem?
I had the opportunity to run against her in 2022, and it was the same sort of playbook out of the Republican Party, and that's preying on people's fear. And fear is a very, very strong emotion, right? It's the one that causes us to react in several different ways. And that is what she did. And in the campaign the first time around, we talked a lot about what we called chasing ghosts. It is the fact that we had to address issues that were not issues at all. And so that's the piece that I think we've got to continue to push back on. We've got to. The other piece with it is that Ellen didn't have a track record, right? It was all sort of, here's what she stands for, but is there proof that she's actually going to follow through? The reality is she did everything she said she was going to. Right? So in an effort to dismantle public education, I'm going to, call a spade a spade. The goal of the Republican Party right now, and has been for decades, is to dismantle public education, because when you have an ignorant population, then you'll believe anything. And I think we're seeing the reality of that right now, right? And so to me, it is, again, like Sylvia said, it is getting the facts out, getting the information out. I'm going to state, as somebody who has been in schools my entire career, our public schools are not failing. They're not. I see the great stuff that we are doing every day with our students, and the hope that we are giving them, and what we are able to do with the limited amount of resources that we have. We absolutely need to do better, but we need to do better with resources. We need to do better with understanding the role of education in our society. And those are things that we need to push back against the right, because regardless of where you individually send your child to, we're all part of this system, right? And we all benefit from public education. In terms of Ellen Weaver, I think we have to be very strong in calling out the hypocrisy, and the fact that she's hiding behind a very small group of people who are very loud and opinionated, and we've got to start fighting back and saying, that doesn't really make sense to me. I'm in the schools every day seeing that teachers. I have a dear friend who's an English teacher, and she has panicked every time she is brought in a new book for her, because she's like, I don't know if somebody's gonna push back on this. And we can't have our teachers living in that fear, because our students need the best of us. And when we're hiding behind that fear because you don't know what's going to happen, we have to fight back. And I can do all the fighting and all of the talking, but we need your help with it too, right? We need y'all to sort of step in and say, does that make sense to you? Is that your experience? And also, all of us know people who are in schools, right? Whether it's our children or our grandchildren or our neighbors. And I think it's so important for you to hear the stories of what's going on in the schools today. I remember when I started teaching back in the 2000s, we talked about cell phones were just sort of becoming a big thing. And the comment was, well, you don't understand teaching if you haven't been in the classroom with cell phones. And then it became smartphones. And then it became, COVID. COVID really changed so much about teaching, and we're still dealing with that. And so, that idea of what it's truly like in the trenches, in the schools, and sharing those stories and saying, no, this is the negative impact that Ellen Weaver's policies have had on the children of South Carolina, and just making sure that people know that, making sure that that is the message that is going out, and again, bringing the focus back where it should be, and that's on the children of South Carolina.